From his battle with Gastelum in Atlanta to him going toe-to-toe with Anderson in 234, the #1 ranked middleweight Israel Adesanya has had an insane career. Until Pereira. Now, finally, they have their rematch coming up, and other UFC fighters have already started placing their bets. There have been plenty of trilogies in MMA. They do not often transition from one combat sport to another, though. At UFC 281, Pereira defeated Adesanya to win the middleweight championship. The judges had the style bender ahead 3-1 before the fight was over, and after 5 successful title defenses, a rematch was expected. On November 12th, Israel Adesanya will defend the UFC middleweight championship against Alex Pereira. These two fighters have met twice before in the ring, with each claiming a victory for himself once. Adesanya won their first matchup in 2010, and Pereira won their second matchup in 2013. The rivalry between these two is well documented, and both of these fighters have always been eager to prove who the better fighter is.
Oh! Knockdown for Adesanya! Costa trying to recover! That is it!
Adesanya has been dominant in his weight class for some time, but Pereira is a young and hungry fighter who is looking to make his mark. The two fighters also recognize each other's abilities, and that makes this next clash all the more thrilling. Adesanya always has a thing or two to say about his rivals, but when he got knocked out by Pereira after he delivered a devastating blow to his chin, all he said was that this is going to make a beautiful story for Pereira. The fight was in his backyard, and he was downed in the initial 2 rounds, but then he comes and knocks him out in the 3rd. I do agree with Adesanya, this was clearly one for the books, but it's not like their relationship is all love and no hate. Trash talk and altercations are a staple of MMA, and this fight has been no different. It seems to me that Pereira doesn't have a lot to say about the upcoming match. After all, he won the last bout.
Oh! Here's that left hook! Here to bow! Oh, now right! Adesanya's on one leg! 2 more! Down goes the champion! Pereira trying to close the show! That'll do it!
Adesanya, though, he has been vocal in his desire to take down his rival, and he might have lost twice to Pereira in kickboxing, but he's still willing to take his chances. He says that he's the one who rolls the dice and isn't going to sit around and wait for Pereira to challenge him again. "This is a piece of my story," he said, "that a hero to one man is a villain to another. If you consider his life from his perspective, I'm the bad guy." According to Adesanya, he is the one he defeated. He was the underdog. He got chased, caught, and thrashed. "This is my time for his story," he said. Adesanya has been driven by his bloodthirst for Pereira for a while now. He doesn't care about the belt, or anything else for that matter. All he wants is to beat this one guy. This is his motivation. He says that people can say whatever they want. It's 1-0 or 3-0. He doesn't keep score. Whatever he says, one thing is for sure. It's that he's the only one that gets to have a say in this. Eugene Behrman, his head coach, said he would have wanted more time to pass before the rematch. In talking to MMA Hour, he said that if he had the option, which he mostly doesn't, he would have probably prepped up more and waited a little longer to allow Israel a little more breathing room before the next bout after a stoppage like that. He wishes he could do what they do in boxing, where he could have brought in a few men for Israel to warm up on before facing Pereira, but that isn't possible. The coach continued by saying that Adesanya was eager to face Pereira next, in order to avoid him getting beaten by someone before him. Looks like Pereira's punches went straight through him and hit him in his ego. Israel, very honestly, is determined that he must, without a shadow of a doubt, face Alex Pereira next. The coach said that Israel was ready to accept the fight with 4 to 5 weeks notice if Pereira was game, and this was before he underwent his surgeries. As for who the other fighters in the division think will win, opinions are divided. Some believe that Adesanya's precision striking will be too much for Pereira to handle, while others think that Pereira's power and aggression will be too much for Adesanya to handle. But the common consensus is that Adesanya is moving a bit too fast. Even people like Daniel Cormier are questioning if this is the right time for the fight, but Pereira has his own burden to lift too. Jamal Hill, the current UFC light heavyweight champion, believes Alex Pereira should be concerned about his own weight class. At UFC 283 in January, Hill defeated Pereira's mentor, Glover Teixeira, by way of a convincing decision to win the vacant title.
And new undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Jamal!
While middleweight champion Poatan was spotted threatening to attack him, Hill believes Pereira should be a bit more concerned about his championship rematch with Israel. According to Hill, he was getting whooped for a big chunk of the fight last time before he won. In UFC 281, Pereira was down Adesanya 3-1 on the judges' scorecards before he came back to defeat him in round 5. Adesanya will likely be getting the belt back on April 8th, according to Hill. The last leg check, for example, was something that worked in Pereira's favor, according to Hill. He thinks that if Izzy merely throws hands and boxes the opponent, being fast and outboxing him, he will win. On that note, let's talk about each fighter's weaknesses and strengths. Adesanya is known for his precision striking and his ability to keep opponents at bay with his footwork. He's like a sniper, picking his shots and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Pereira, on the other hand, is a brawler who likes to get in close and land heavy shots. He's like a battering ram, using his strength and aggression to overpower his opponents. But if either fighter wants to come out on top, they'll need to make some adjustments to their style. Adesanya will need to be careful not to get caught in the pocket, and will need to use his footwork to keep Pereira at bay. He'll need to pick his shots carefully and avoid getting drawn into a brawl. Pereira, on the other hand, will need to find a way to close the distance and get in close enough to land his heavy shots. He'll need to be patient and not get frustrated if Adesanya keeps him at a distance. Adesanya and Pereira competed in Pride of Heroes 1 in China in 2016. While Adesanya outstruck Pereira, Adesanya was stung by Pereira's combinations and strokes. You may say that Pereira slowed down at the finish, but Adesanya was unable to take advantage of it. By a unanimous vote, Pereira would go on to win the match. According to Adesanya, the fight was his, as he told MMA reporters at a UFC 276 media event. He told them that he was the one who had messed up Pereira pretty badly in the first fight. If it weren't for the judges, the match would have been his. So, who do I think is going to win? It's a tough call, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Adesanya. His precision striking and footwork are just too good, and I think he'll be able to keep Pereira at bay and pick him apart from the outside. That's not to say that Pereira won't put up a good fight though. He's a tough fighter with a lot of heart. That'll have to do it for UFC fighters predicting Adesanya versus Pereira 3.